could have. There we go.
Are we live on radio? Because
We are
otherwise,
we are live on the radio. So there you go.
so
You
we
can
don't
hear,
want to go back and repeat what we've just said there.
no. We're on edgeradioaustralia.com. So
Yes,
if you can hear us now, thank you very much, Melissa.
Yeah,
really
thanks,
appreciate
Melissa.
that.
That's great.
Thank you too, by the way, Courage and Secure. Really appreciate that. Wasn't aware of that. So we will jump. Hopefully you can
Yes.
hear us now.
Yeah, can you hear
okay.
us? Just let us
let us know.
And if you wanted to listen, Aaron just shared all his darkest
Oh,
secrets.
every
You'll
one of
have
them.
to listen in on Sunday live at 3 p.m. because it has hit the live radio.
It
So
has. All right. Well,
yeah.
and what we'll do is that, hopefully we'll be able to look. I'll have a word with our whiz bang IT people, and we'll see if we can put the audio onto the video. Maybe we could get that working.
Hey, that's a great idea.
Look, we have people with skills.
A fabulous idea.
Very cool.
So we're talking about smashing the lid off the upper ceiling, and the way that we can really go through life in a whole different way if we can do that. And we were talking about how it can be what sort of ceiling do you think you've got? Do you think it's a glass ceiling? Like if it's a glass ceiling, you can almost visualize it as whoosh coming off. Whoosh. Do you love the sound effects?
I do.
And, but if it's marble, like one lady said, then it's almost impossible to kind of lift that off. So the subconscious mind is really clever at creating things. And I have got something I have to admit to you.
Okay.
Kind of like a confession.
All right. I'm ready.
Okay. This was in one of our first ever sessions that we had on radio.
Okay.
But you mentioned about faking it till you make it.
Yeah.
And I disputed that. And I said, I don't believe in faking it till you make it.
I remember.
But you know what? I want to talk about smashing the lid off the ceiling and quantum leaping.
Okay.
And guess what the number one thing even in the quantum science of it is? It's actually faking it.
Okay.
Because you don't know what you don't know. Now, the minute I did a real analysis and a study on this, the first thing I thought about was our argument we had on radio way back when you said faking it till you make it. Well, let's face it, we don't know what we don't know.
It's true.
So the reason that we get stuck where we are and we're not kind of moving forward is because we're doing something on repeat from our past.
Okay.
So the unconscious is autopilot. So it doesn't know how to do that. And actually, Melissa, I'm not sure if you're still watching, ask questions here, but she was in my masterclass this morning. And we really had to get everyone to think about, what do you truly desire? And people usually always go into what the problem is. They'll tell you what the problem is. Oh,
not actually what they want.
Yeah.
Okay, right. Just very quickly, thank you, Gail, for letting us know. I really appreciate that. We're back online with the audio, so thank you so much for that.
Yes.
Yeah, didn't want to break your train, but I do want to thank people who are helping us out.
And ask questions, guys. If you want to know anything about shifting the lid off your upper limit, ask us a question, any question, even if we can't answer it.
We'll give it a go
Aaron
anyway.
Will make it up. He's got plenty of tricks under his hat.
I don't know about that. Okay, but I want to. Okay, let's visit. Okay, fake it till you make it. Look, I use that because let's face it, rhymes. It works for me. But okay, it could just be. There's another way you could look at it. Okay, sometimes it could be me just saying, okay, things are bad for argument's sake, but I've got to show on. I've got to do this. I've got to do. I've got to show up. I've got to show up.
You do.
Okay, to the world. So what I will do is I'll go, right, I'm just going to consciously lift my limit, right? So I might be emotionally, bad, things are bad, whatever. Okay, so you're kind of here.
Yeah.
But you need to be here for whatever you're showing up for in life, right?
Yes.
So you will reach into the old subconscious, go, okay, screw you with the negativity, right? The conscious one is going to.
This is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, this is the guy who's going to lift the lid, right? And so I'll rise to the level. So, okay, the term fake it till you make it sounds a little disingenuous. It's like you're acting like you're faking. No, look, it's kind of like, okay, like my car is, I'm struggling to start. It's sometimes you got to jump the car. You got to grab the jumper cables and give it.
You
a
mean
bit
you got to
move.
bump start it?
You oh yeah. I tell you right.
That's the Aussie way of saying it.
Absolutely. Look, yeah, it's so true.
But it like I love what you just said, and that's precisely why I say you've got unconscious competency about this stuff. Because I was going to ask you the question: if you are in a flat mood, and
Yep.
obviously you've had that, you've
Damn
obviously
straight.
come into radio, and you've had a day where you've been attacked,
Yep.
and all this kind of stuff. So my question to you is, what are your resources? So I know you compartmentalize, so you're very good at putting something in a box and going, right, let's put that to the side.
Mm-hmm.
Do you kind of jump into that place in your mind where you can elevate yourself?
My life and my mind, it works much like an IKEA storage system. You know, the cubes,
Are
right?
we advertising IKEA again?
Oh,
The loss
seems that
leader?
way. I've got those right now in the office, right? But okay, so essentially what I'm getting at is, yeah, look, sometimes you got that and you've got to put it in the box, slide it in there, and I'll deal with you later, right? Okay.
True.
But yeah, look, sometimes you're going to have to put them down the bottom shelf. Sometimes you're going
Yeah.
to put them top. But to elevate yourself, yeah, look, sometimes you got to climb on top of that bloody cabinet, don't you?
Yeah. And look, from the NLP, it's exactly like that. And even to the point where you say, if I'm in clinic with someone, I might say, they might be on that rant we talked about the other
Sure.
day. And then all of a sudden I say, what about it? Can we just suspend that? And because we don't want to offend the subconscious,
Right.
we sort of go down that that pathway of saying, can we just put that to the side? Maybe until the end of the session. If you want it back again, bring it back. But it kind of gives them that safety. And then by them putting it aside, like you put it in a box,
Yep.
goodness knows what you do with it after that. Like, do you burn it or do you bring it back and,
No, look,
ruminate
it's still
on it?
there. It's still there. It's organized. It's popped away. Little
Yep.
OCD in a way.
Yep.
And when you need it, or maybe you don't need the negative sort of thoughts or whatever, but you know what, you need the information. So
Yeah.
it's there if you. It's your little reference guide of the things that you don't want to do again, or the experiences you don't want to have again. So
yeah. And movie stars have got to be really careful,
right,
because they're faking it until they make
oh
it.
yeah,
You remember the Joker, right?
yes.
I mean, he got too much into his personality.
Yep.
And even that, did you ever see that movie Poltergeist?
Yes, many years ago.
That
I'm
little
still
girl
a little
died.
scared.
That
What?
little girl in that movie with the long blonde hair, she
Yeah.
actually died under most mysterious circumstances.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, true story.
Wow.
And,
wow.
I believe, like, if it was my kid, I'd be very careful, especially knowing what I know,
Sure.
about letting my kid go into a character where they've got to be a certain way. That's why so many movie stars are typecast.
Oh, no doubt about it. I mean, yeah, there's
They
so
learn
many.
it.
They do learn it. But I'm going to have a little side note on this one. I am sick and tired of people taking the advice from movie actors, TV actors, and whatever. Okay. You are taking the word and the opinion as gospel, right? Because somehow this person has a sense of authority over you. No. What do? They bullshit for a living. They pretend to be someone else. They have
But
other
that's what they
people's
have
words.
to do, though.
Well, I get that. And what I'm saying, I'm not dissing acting. Good on them, right?
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, if I'm going to get a famous actor gets on TV or tells me how to think or how to vote or whatever, I'm going to take that with a grain
Are you
of salt.
talking about like a president or a factual person, not a movie star, though?
No, I'm talking about a movie star when in their real life they start promoting, whatever it happens to be, whatever they're promoting. I'm sorry, I don't take them with that sense of authority because,
they're only acting it.
They're only acting.
Fake it till you make it, Aaron.
Yeah, I agree, but yeah, I don't know. It kind of bothers me. It becomes and people believe so much of Hollywood or singers and they don't live in the real world. They don't experience the same things as everyday people.
Well, that's what people are looking at. So a lot of our teenagers, they're looking at the influencers.
Yeah,
and
we celebrate the wrong people.
Yeah, it's impacting their life because they're looking at them and they're comparing themselves. And what people forget is when you're running a race, let's say you're in you're running a marathon,
Okay.
are you going to win that race by looking over at your opponent
Hell no.
and seeing where they're going? Or are you going to keep your eyes focused and fixed on the finishing line and totally nail it? But when, people go off on a tangent and start comparing themselves, we call it comparasitis.
Ooh,
and,
okay.
John DeMartini comes out with,
you can get an injection, it'll clear that right up.
Yeah, I think envy is ignorance
Ooh.
and comparison is suicide of your success.
Right. Oh, yeah, that is a really good way. Yeah, sometimes whether it be business or sport or life, you need to put the blinkers on, because if you are constantly comparing yourself to someone else, look, you're slowing yourself down because you keep constantly looking this way.
Yeah.
Again, being a car guy, it was explained to me this way, and I love this. There is a reason why the windscreen is this big, okay, and the rear vision mirror is this big.
Oh, that's a very good point.
Yeah, why are you looking back?
But see, that's another NLP analogy.
Is it? There we
go. It is.
Okay.
Because don't look at the past in the revision mirror. You've got to look in front. Otherwise, what's going to happen?
I'm very much, I have a sense of, believe it or not, gratitude for the fact of some horrible stuff that's happened in my past has made me who I am.
Oh,
so if I hadn't had the horrible stuff, I would have lived life on the easy street, and you wouldn't be forced to develop yourself.
You might not be sitting here
now.
Being the ambassador.
There's no might.
You are making that. So I cannot agree with that more. I mean, that's where the genius zone comes from, right?
Yeah. No.
So, the genius zone is really about pain to power. And people making a stand. It's not really about, Elon Musk, I'm brilliant. It's about people who have gone through so much pain that rather than ruminating in it, they turn it into their glory. They turn their story into their glory. But they go out and they represent themselves to the world, and they can become the light. Not just because they went and studied or did a certification, but because they became authorities through their own experience.
Well, yeah, when you have particular experiences, like it sends you off in a particular journey of knowledge, right? So you want to know more and more about whatever's affected you. So, if you've had experience with a particular personality type or an event or whatever, look, of course you want to immerse yourself in that information. Yeah.
Of course. And, if you are going to compare yourself to other people, in our class today, I was saying, Melissa was there. NLP is the modeling of excellence.
Okay.
So the modeling of human excellence. So when it was formed by Richard Bandler, have you ever seen Richard Bandler?
No.
He looks like an older version of you with long hair and a ponytail.
Okay.
But he's quite the larrikin, actually.
Right.
And and then there's the Professor John Grinder. But what they did was they looked at the human mind and they looked at therapists like Virginia Satir. So she was the great family therapist.
Okay.
And they looked at what happened at a person's brain when they made a change. And they brought together neuro-linguistic programming.
Okay.
And one of its biggest elements is modeling. So today, what I was saying in the class, it's not to become that other person, because like you say, you've got to have your experiences.
Yeah.
However, they are what make you strong. But when it comes to recreating, I always say, for me, it's so much easier to release the past and the trauma than it is to recode, rewire, and refire new pathways, because it's really up to the person to become committed, dedicated, and outside of reading lots of books and studying lots of things, one of the things they can do is they can model human excellence. So I've got a question for you.
Oh dear.
Can I hit you up?
Hit me up.
Okay. So if I was going to say to you, Aaron, I want you to think of someone you absolutely you have a lot of respect for, a lot of admiration for. You don't have to know them up close and personal. It could be like someone in history, Ian likes Kettering, and some people like Andrew Carnegie. You might like a Peter Brock, just saying. But Could you throw me or just say yes if you can come up with someone in your mind that you really look up to and you think, gee whiz, I'd love to have a few resources, like themselves. I'd like to go through and smash through that limit and perhaps acquire that level, not to be them and not to take away from yourself, but to actually gain some knowledge from that person.
Oh, the answer is a very clear yes. But for me, there'd be a group of people. Like,
Okay.
I don't have anybody like I have absolutely nobody in life I aspire to be. Okay, I aspire to be Aaron
Because
Malloy.
you
Right?
have to be Aaron Malloy, and that's what it's all about. When making this perfectly clear, I know someone says if you could jump into somebody else's life, even if you did think they were really great,
Yep.
you'd probably be grappling for your own life back again.
Yeah, probably.
So you see, your subconscious, firstly, does not know the difference between fantasy and reality.
Okay.
So if you think Peter Brock is an absolute rock star and you've got a great load of respect, you might not know what's going on behind his,
Sure.
curtain at home. But it's what your subconscious perceives and what you see. So
if you're going to use that kind of analogy in that sort of time frame and that part of the world, I would identify far more with Dick Johnson, right?
Okay.
Okay, for a start, I was a Ford man, but yeah, absolutely. But he was a battler; like he did it tough.
Right.
So, and he's been, to bankruptcy and back and all that. So,
Wow.
and his wife has stuck by him, so and been an absolutely amazing rock for him. But yeah, what he has built over such a long time, he took a lot of hits. Whereas, say, Peter Brock, naturally talented, and money came much easier for him.
Yeah.
He's very charismatic, rather. So for that reason, and good looking, so it kind of came easier. So I identify far more with Dick Johnson.
Dick Johnson.
Yeah.
And, you'll find that most of the greats anyway, because, Peter Brock, I was kind of, using him as a little bit of a way to get you to understand what I'm saying, because I know that you're into motor racing. And, most of the greats have got that Dick Johnson kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Like even Andrew Carnegie, the great man of steel, and he, obviously hired Napoleon Hill. And Napoleon Hill went out and interviewed Rockefellers and Henry Ford and all these amazing guys and tapped into their psyche and then wrote Think and Grow Rich.
Well, okay.
So when's your book coming out?
When I've got time to write it. And I'm not a great wordsmith, so no chance on that one. I have to get someone to write it for me.
You can always use Audible and convert it.
I could. I probably need that real skill. But okay, well, Henry Ford is a really good example of what you're just talking about because, okay, Henry Ford, to be absolutely frank with you, had quite a relatively speaking low IQ. People don't realize that, apart from being also a bit of a communist and also having some very questionable social ideas, became one of the most successful men of all time and to a huge extent, the influence he's had on industry, full stop, thinking about cars, just industry is just massive. Now that's a man with very limited resources, financial resources to start with, intellectual resources, but incredible determination and incredible intelligence in what he needed to know, right?
The one thing.
He's one thing. Boom. So, he's very good at one particular thing and he made that work and he got the right people around him.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. Now, we're talking about somebody who, we're not talking about an intelligence rather like Musk, right? It's like a very high IQ on that.
Yeah.
But probably a man who had a far bigger influence in the world, certainly. We'll see how Musk goes long term, but you know what I mean?
It'll be interesting.
Yeah. But, I guess what I'm kind of saying is that take what you've got, right? And maximize the hell out of it.
Absolutely.
Right?
100%.
So look what that man achieved with so little.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Great
as I say.
example.
Yeah.
Such a great example. I didn't know that actually.
I
had no idea Henry Ford wasn't the sharpest tool in the shed.
Oh, no way in the world.
But he was the sharpest tool in the shed when it came to inventing
look what he put
car.
together. Yeah.
So, when you're aspiring to someone, you're aspiring to them from the subconscious in the way you see them.
Okay.
So Dick Johnson, for example, you don't know, coming back to what you don't know. So if you are going to be a person that wants to hit great success and wants to hit, above the limit and break through to the other side,
Yep.
how do you know what you don't know? So if you take someone like Dick Johnson, for example,
Yep.
and I'll just pop you to the test.
Okay.
Tell me, what do you like about him specifically?
His grit.
Grit.
His inability to give up. Yeah, I like that. I mean, I love an Aussie battler. Okay.
The underdog.
I love an underdog.
Oh,
Absolutely.
typical
Always.
Aussie.
Always. I think that, look, he struggled financially. He just, did beg, borrow, and would steal to put everything together to make it happen.
Yeah.
Has had adversity come his way, has had he felt great social responsibility as well, which he fulfilled, which I think was a wonderful thing.
Yep.
But yeah, just the
So
fact that when
grit is the number one thing you said.
Yeah.
That is kind of like what I would, in my world, is a resource.
Okay.
Can you kind of nail, like, he's obviously been, the underdog, he's come from great pain and he's broken through it, which shows the grit. What do you reckon it took? What was that grit about? What's inside the grit? Can you kind of get into it a little bit more and be a little more, I guess, detailed?
Well, certainly with him, I mean, I'm not a historian of his life, although I have had the pleasure of meeting him a few times. And
what does grit mean to you then? Like, is it determination?
Determination, and also like adversity is almost like Red Bull. Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
Like
it fires you up. Like
yes.
when things are hard, like if something's worthwhile, it's never easy, right? No. So whenever in my life, if I take a real thump, and I'll be very honest, okay, internally and sometimes externally, I'm going to have a bit of a sook about it. Okay. I'm going to have a bit of time where I'm kind of,
you're allowed to.
Yeah. I'm not happy. I'm not happy, Jan.
Let her roll around in the mud occasionally.
Yeah, occasionally.
Feel to heal.
Oh, well, yeah. So I am an emotional person, right? So I'm run by emotions far more than anything else, which is I find quite it's a problem for me. It's something I would like to sort of work around, right?
Really?
Yep, absolutely. I'd rather be more logic based. So what I do is I kind of, so I have the adversity, I have the emotions, I get past the emotions, and then I go through the logical OCD kind of element of, okay, how do we fix this? What do we do? Right. Yeah. Now, sometimes in life, I can really handily completely skip the emotional sort of thing. So and if I'm in a crisis for other people, there is no emotion in there. I just go straight to the fix it.
Yeah. So you're that person when the going gets tough, the tough get going.
Damn straight.
So absolutely. Boom. I'm a bit that way myself. That's when I fire up and jump into action. What I've heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, grit, determination, which you did say, and strength.
Yep.
And absolutely. I'd say that it also takes a lot of courage.
Yeah.
Or guts or stamina or consistency.
All of those things. Resonate? But all of those things do.
Okay.
Right. I mean, look, it's funny actually. As an Australian, like when I say this, okay, as an Australian, when you use the word genius, for argument's sake, like, okay, I have trouble with that because I'm an Australian and I don't ever want to talk myself up.
Being a genius.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Courage. I don't want to talk myself up by saying that,
But what about Dick Johnson?
Yeah, but I can about somebody else.
Yeah, but that's what I mean.
Yeah.
So do you see that in him? Do you see him having grit?
Unbelievable grit.
Determination, strength,
every word you
courage,
use. Yeah.
Boldness.
Yep.
Okay, guess what? You cannot see anything or identify anything in anyone else that's not already in you.
Really?
I absolutely 100%. Comes down to you don't know what you don't know. Do you know Dr. John Demartini? I'm going to give him a little bit of glory here. He created the breakthrough experience.
Okay.
And, one of the biggest things that he teaches is breaking through that upper limit. But one of the biggest things that people have to do is forgiveness. They have to be able to come back to forgiveness. So guess how he does it?
How?
Okay, a lot different to another mob of people. I won't mention their names,
Okay.
but this one particular, they're quite well known, and they do a lot of the personal development stuff and really help people to move forward.
Right.
But they say when you go through this forgiveness factor, and I don't agree with this. I mean, some people out there might. You ring every single person you had a fight with that was really bad,
Right.
like maybe an ex
Okay.
or, someone, a school teacher, you ring them up and you actually tell them that you're sorry for the feelings you had towards them and you're forgiving them. And this is what they do. Now, obviously, I don't particularly like the thought of doing that, right?
Doesn't sound like a
I
lot of
think it
fun.
gives too much of a thrill to the other person. And
Ooh,
sometimes they
yeah.
don't need to be let off the hook. We need to get let off the hook, just like what we talked about once, to gain our power back and let
Sure.
the universe take the rest of the
You
thing.
take the
That's
wheel.
called karma, right?
Mhm.
Because, if we hold on to that stuff where we're like, "Ugh," and you know what I'm talking
I
about,
know,
right?
absolutely know.
Guess what the universe does?
What's that?
Aaron's got this. I don't need to step in at all because he's got this. But the moment Aaron steps away, I'm just saying this, by the way, I'm not saying this is
No,
true.
no.
But the moment Aaron lets go,
Mm.
the universe goes, okay, I've got to step in now. And that's where karma.
Look, I had a mate who was the most irresponsible person I've ever met in my life. And he used to use the old term, the universe will provide. Okay. And I said, yeah,
Maybe
mate.
not far from the truth.
Oh, but yeah, I just like, yeah, mate, no worries, right? Now I would watch him make the worst decisions you could possibly imagine and just wing it and let it go. Do you know what? For his life, the universe just kept giving and giving and giving. He just got away with it, right? Now, some people can and some people can't. I'm not
But
one of
it
those people. I
does
don't believe.
catch up.
You reckon?
I've got a confession to make. I mean, this is terrible. I feel really bad about confessing this. But when I was 17 years old, I went for my real estate license. Now, I was really successful. I was born and bred in the real estate industry.
Great start.
My father took me around everywhere when I was 8 years old. I used to follow him around. So I knew all the terminology and I knew how to sell real estate when I was 9 years old, right?
Yeah, right.
And, Dad said, right, you got to go and get your license now.
Yep.
I cheated.
What?
Don't tell anyone, Aaron.
It's a bit late. Okay.
Don't tell anyone. But I cheated.
Wow.
I was 17 years old, and I know you're ashamed of me. I can see it all written
You can
all
feel
over
it.
your
You can
face.
see the shame. Yeah.
Yeah. But I thought I got away with that. Long story short, I didn't go into real estate straight away because having youth is not always a good thing.
Oh no.
When you're trying to sell real estate. I mean, the purchasers love you, but the vendors, you're a bit young, Even at 27, 28, I still had that kind of baby face.
Gotcha.
But guess what happened when I hit 30?
What's that?
My license expired.
Right.
This was karma. Now, how many years later is this? This is 12 years later.
Sure.
I had to go back and sit for that same bloody exam.
But why? Don't you
Because
just keep paying?
I feel that it was karma.
Oh, okay.
I feel that I cheated when I was 17.
Yep.
And I feel that whatever happened, because I had my third child, I was pregnant, caught up in all that hoo-ha. And it just, I probably just didn't register myself. But I had to go back. That was karma.
Okay.
So I don't see, the universe doesn't have a time on stuff either.
Okay.
So there is no time in the quantum. So it's a, timeless space. So you might hit 90 years old and then, because these are the things, like quite often in our woo-woo industry, it's like, you're paying for the karmic pattern that maybe your grandmother or someone else made. But just to flip that around and go into a more positive way, if we go back to breaking the limit and you, for example, looking at what Dick Johnson actually, achieved,
Yep.
then by you aligning your vibrational energy with what you perceive that man has, and then actually imagining that you have all of that, although you already do, and living that out. What you're doing is you're raising your frequency, you're raising your energy.
Okay.
And this is why, if a person wants to become successful, if they want to become a millionaire, if they want to become the greatest athlete, car racer, whatever it be, teacher, they have got to align their frequency and energy and their thoughts and their feelings with who they want to become.
Okay.
And that's the fake it till you make it part.
Right.
Where as you're doing that, it's aligning with that next limitless part of your super self.
We all just put such limits on ourselves. Like, honestly, it's kind of crazy. I don't know, maybe we're all different. We're all wired differently and that sort of thing. But yeah, to me, I don't know. I've always just thought I'll give it a crack.
Yeah.
Because, okay, what's the worst thing? Okay. I sit here, okay, as a fat bald man, in his 50s.
Come on, Aaron.
No, but okay. But yeah,
I'm going to challenge you after this.
Okay, never been Brad Pitt in my life, right? Okay. But I'll tell you right now, okay, through my life, I've had, beautiful girls in my life. Okay. And do you know why?
Charisma?
No, because I have the balls to walk up and say hello and start a conversation. And because so many people feel like, oh, I'm not the best looking guy, or I haven't got a great job, or yada, yada, whatever it happens to be.
You're
right?
very comfortable in your own skin.
Oh, you've got to be. It's the only one I've got. So, ultimately you go up, and I used to make this bit of a joke because I had friends who wouldn't approach girls. I'm kind of Karen. I used to just say, nobody spontaneously combusted because a girl said no, right? You don't catch fire.
Perspective. See, I told you.
Boom. You just don't know. So you know what? If you see someone that you want to go and talk to, go and talk to them, right?
Yeah.
And if they say no, then no problem. Hey, her loss, right? Okay. Simple as that. And I think that, that might sound a little bit arrogant, and so what if it does? Okay. Back yourself. Because, if somebody's saying no to you, I mean, I'm using that as an example, but I think about anything in life. People are going to say no to you, right? It doesn't mean that, it doesn't mean that you're a lesser person. It doesn't mean you're lacking capability or this or that. Okay. Maybe you're just not the right fit at that time, right?
Yeah.
So have a go, whether it be, say hi to the girl, get into the race car, open a radio station, whatever it happens to be, right?
Yeah,
but what I'm saying is that so many people will say, no, you can't do that. No, you can't do that. No, yes, you can. Right.
Yeah. So I would, what advice I would give, not that I give advice, but you know what I'd say to a guy who says, Aaron, how come you get all the chicks and, I don't? And I'd say to that guy, you've got to use Aaron as your role model. And, you saying you're comfortable in your own skin. Well, I told you that. And you said, well, it's the only one I've got. Not everyone's comfortable in their own skin, Aaron.
Oh, no, look, I would much rather be a fantastic, Fabio looking fella, right? But you got to work with what you got. Got to work with what you got.
I probably wouldn't sit here if you were like Fabio, honestly.
Oh, look.
Look, I mean, no offense.
There's a joke in that.
Himbos, they're allowed as well. No pun intended here. Challenge here. You called yourself a fat, bald guy who's in his 50s.
I've got a mirror. Yeah.
You got a...
Yeah.
Okay. So, do you enjoy being fat and bald?
Well, in a one-word answer, no, I don't. Well, there's several words, but my point being,
I don't see you as fat and bald. That's why every time I walk into Edge Radio and you haven't got your hat on, I get a shock. I go, oh, he's bald.
What's going on? Exactly. Well, I'm bald by choice. Okay. Like I shave my head, right? Because I don't want to look like John Howard. Okay. The ring of no confidence. No. Okay. No. I would rather have, if, it's either that I want the locks or nothing, right? Okay, nowhere in between.
Yeah.
I don't want that lack of confidence, that ring, right? No.
Yeah.
I don't want to look like Friar Tuck. So, I'd rather just shave the whole thing off.
I hope Friar Tuck and John Howard don't watch this.
Oh, yeah, Johnny's watching every show. No, but it's, again, you do what you've got. You do your best with what you've got. Okay? And, if that's not good enough for people, then they're missing out.
You know what I would now say on that, just in, what we're talking about today with breaking through the upper limit, I would suggest to you, if you think you're fat and you don't specifically want that, and I think fat's a horrible word, actually. I really hate that word. However, what if you were the body that you totally, in your mind's eye, felt was great? And then what if you could wake up every single day and practice being in that body?
Right.
And fake it till you make it. I wonder if I can put you to that challenge.
Okay. I'd be a very bad man if I looked the way I wanted to look, but I'd misbehave a lot. I'm only teasing.
I don't believe that.
No, I know, it's a joke. But, honestly, I sit here, and if I wanted to change that about my life, if I genuinely really cared that much, you know what? I'd change it. Yep. Okay? No excuses.
But what if it was as easy as thinking it in your mind's eye?
Oh, then I'd get it done.
Well, that's what I'm talking about, taking the fast cut here and starting to, really, because when people come in to do weight management, the first thing they have to do is be able to imagine themselves. Don't worry about going on diets. I mean, anything with the word die in it's got to be a bad thing, right?
That's right.
It's about being able to listen to your body and respect what you want to eat and begin seeing, hearing, and feeling yourself being that way that you want to be and breaking through that limit that maybe you've never broken through before in your life and actually being it.
It's a good point. And on that bombshell, we'll end the show. Thank you very much for bringing your genius today. Really appreciate that, Terry. And, for those out there watching the show, listening to the show, hey, go find yours. It would be my advice. As I say, a tall poppy, I don't like the term. I keep away from it, but I get it. I absolutely get it. You know what? We've all got that thing that makes us unique and special. Go out and embrace it and enjoy that. All right, I'm going to end the stream there. Thank you very much for those online. Thank you very much for those who got us back on track. Really appreciate that with our little tech issue. Obviously, the computer decided to change some settings on us. Thank you, computer. Jeez. And they want the computers to take over the world. No, we'll do it.
I don't think so.
No way.
Forget the robots.
Absolutely. The name of the show is
Fine Edge on Genius Zone. Terry Messenger's Genius Zone.
It's Edge Radio Australia.